side cut off.
That's right.
He's all right now. I got that remote. Man, that's bad. Funny, you become who you hang around, right?
We know who he's been around.
As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Proverbs 27:17. Now, the word I'm going to talk to you tonight is found in the book of Mark, verse 46. And I'm just going to read a few words, but there's so much here that sometimes we don't catch it, and we're talking about comfort zones. And we've already broken the wall down, and I asked you at the beginning of the program, how many want to get out of that comfort zone? Now, watch a bunch of hands go up. Do you really want to get out? Because let me tell you what the comfort zone looks like. Beginning in verse 46. Then they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, that is the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet. But he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." And I'm going to stop right there for a second. Because Bartimaeus was blind. And I will tell you this much, folks. There's a lot of blindness in the world today.
Come on.
Not just physical blindness.
Come on.
There's so much blindness in the world that I don't even know how to describe it. Because blindness is everywhere.
Come on, brother.
We become blind to morals. We become blind to character. We become blind to integrity. We become blind to the things that used to be unacceptable now become the norm. We become blind. We see it all the time. We become blind because we get addicted to all kinds of stuff.
Come on.
Let me tell you, the greatest blindness we can have too, I believe in my heart, is religion. Religion is blinding. Also, religion is a terminal disease that will kill you.
Yes, sir.
I'm not about religion. But there's a lot of blind people, and I submit to you at this time in this place that Bartimaeus, even though he could not see with his eyes, he saw better than a lot of us see because he recognized Jesus when Jesus was there.
Amen.
A lot of times we don't recognize Jesus, even though he's there. Because we're blind. This blindness gets so dark that we can't see our hand in front of our place. Have you been in a cave before? One of those cave tours? They say, "You want to know dark?" And everybody's like, "Yeah." And then they turn off the lights. You can't see your hand in front of your face. And the lights say, "Put your hand up there," and it's gone. You know, there's a dim light. But when there's blindness and dark, you cannot see. You can't see your hand. You can't see your feet. How are you supposed to go anywhere? You see, how are we supposed to move in our world without the light of Jesus shining the way? Because if we try to walk around without the light of Jesus shining our way, we are spiritually blind. And we're darkened and we can't see and we're going to fall. That's what I know. You know what I think is amazing? Here Bartimaeus is. How many days do you think he sat by this road begging? Do you think he did that over and over again? I do. I think he did it every single day. I think he was there all day. But at least this time, at least he recognized for the first time how blind he was. Didn't he? Boy, if some of us, all of us, could recognize how blind we are sometimes.
Yes, sir.
See, the first thing we have to realize before God can even touch us is we have to realize we need him. Bartimaeus at least recognized that Jesus was there. And he knew he had a need. How many know you have a need?
Amen.
Raise your hands. I want to hear it. I want to see it. See, if we know we have a need, that's a great awareness.
Absolutely.
Because when we think we don't have a need, God can't meet any need because we don't have it. Pride's got in the way and we are blind. We are blind. So here Bartimaeus is. He's blind, but he sees. And listen to what it says in verse 47. When he heard that Jesus was near. When he heard. We need to begin to hear Jesus.
Come on, Mark.
Not just look for him. Hear his voice because he is always speaking. We have to just tune into his channel. But we've got all kinds of other channels going on that are designed to plug our ears and make us blind. Bartimaeus heard Jesus was coming. And the cool thing about Bartimaeus is when he realized that Jesus was there and he realized he had a need, he began to cry out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." When he cried out, he continued. And people around him said, "Shh, be quiet." They rebuked him. In other words, they gave him a rule, shut up. They said, shut your mouth. You know what? When you're in a place like that, a place of spiritual blindness, you have to be persistent.
Come on.
Because you've been pretty persistent about putting that wall up around yourself. We all have. We put it up brick by brick by brick, and we take our time, make sure it's stacked really strong. Because behind that wall we can hide. We hide down there and say, oh, you know, I'm cool here. Nobody sees me. Well, let me tell you something. Jesus always sees what's going on. He is not blind. He always has more than 20/20 vision because he can see through walls. He can see through our walls. Bartimaeus, even though many rebuked him and told him to be quiet, what did he do? He shouted all the more, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. See, he used this word mercy, which I think is a great word. Because mercy indicates that he couldn't do it himself anymore. When we realize that we are blind and we have a need and we hear Jesus, we have to first realize that we cannot get our way out. If we realize that, we put the power back in Jesus' hands and take it away from ourselves. If we ask him to have mercy, he will, because he's full of mercy. His word says in Lamentations 3:23, his mercies are new every morning. That's what I love. That's what I know. So he's got a fresh dose of mercy for all of us. But many times we way back. We want him to come get us, but we don't cry out. We bark once, oh Lord, help me. We go back in our shell, like in the back in our hole. Like one of those groundhogs. We stick our head out and say, nope, I'm back in. But Bartimaeus was persistent this time, wasn't he? And the funny thing about it, I think we gloss over this sometimes, is even though we hear Jesus coming, what does Jesus say? Did Jesus come to him? No. He didn't. He did not come to him. He stopped in verse 49 and said, call him. When he was talking about call him, who was he talking to?
The crowd or somebody else.
He was talking to somebody else. Good word, Charlie. He wasn't talking to Bartimaeus. He looked at one of his buddies. He said, call him. You know who his buddies were? Think about this. They were the ministers. They were the messenger boys. Folks, I'm a messenger boy.
Amen.
I got to tell you right, I'm just a messenger boy. That's all I am. When God says I'm supposed to speak a word, I'm supposed to deliver it. I'm supposed to call him. Call him means calls us. It's using his word by the authority of Jesus to call people. Calling their attention to him. Saying, here's what he says. Now sometimes we want to hear God himself. But God himself speaks through people. He speaks through ministers. He speaks to other people. He speaks through his word. He speaks to you in a still, small voice. He speaks to you through circumstances. He speaks to you through life. But many times he speaks to you through another person. He speaks to Brother Tim as Brother Tim teaches. Brother Tim will tell you that. And we don't take that gift lightly at all because it's a gift. It's not us doing it. It's all the Lord. This is not about me. It's about him. I am speaking this word tonight because God says to speak this word. It's his word, not mine. When we cry to Jesus, even though we can't see him, many times he will send somebody to you.
That's right.
Somebody to you. And watch what happens when he sends somebody to him. As I read further, in the rest of verse 49, this is amazing. You got to hear this. So they called. Get this, they called. More than one. You know what they did? They encouraged him. They did. They said, you can do this. How many times this week have you heard somebody say to you, you can do this, man. You can do this. This is something you can do. Just trust God. Let go. Let go and let God. Realize you can't, but he can. Realize you won't, but he will. Realize you're scared, but he's not about fear. He will take that fear away from you. Remember, he's not about fear. Perfect love casts away all fear.
Yes, it does.
It really does. Look what happens. They called to the blind man, and they said a couple of words to him. This is really cool. Really cool. They said, cheer up on your feet. See, he was down. Not only was he down in a hole, his own jail, he was down in his spirit. He was discouraged. Have you been discouraged before because of the circumstance? Have you been hurt by a church before? We get down, we get so deep, we get so wounded, we put walls up around ourselves. We put walls up around ourselves because of things we did. We put walls up around ourselves because of things other people did. We get in this old pity party and dig ourselves a big old pit. We make it a really pity party. Get it? Play on words? Pit-y party. Not going to catch that, man. He said, cheer up on your feet. See, he was down. He was depressed and he was down. He wasn't even standing up. You know? Think about that for a moment. Even though Jesus was there, he was still sitting there in the same old place he was all. He didn't even move. Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Come down my pity party pit and get me. That's what he was saying. Yeah. Really? To cheer up on your feet. He's calling you. You know what that's saying to all of us? What are you waiting on? What are you waiting on? Jesus is calling. What are you waiting on? He's got a word for you. He's got a call for you. He's got a challenge for you. He's got a mission for you. He's got something special he wants you to do. What are you waiting on?
Yes, amen.
Waiting on. He's calling. And it's an amazing thing. You go back, one of the translations in the King James Version says, cheer up, rise. You know what that word rise means? In the Greek? Literally it means this. Rise up from your sleep. Rise up from your disease. Rise up from your death. It also means figuratively, rise up from your obscurity. Rise up from your ruin. Or get this, rise up from your inactivity. That's what the word means in the Greek. Isn't that crazy? See, God's words are chosen very wisely. Very wisely. When they call the blind man, they're saying, in effect, get up from where you are. Move from where you are. Go from where you've been to where God wants you to be. That's what he wants. Think about that. How many of us in this room find ourselves sitting in the same place day after day and wonder why God's not there? How many of us, by the show of hands in this room, have built those walls around ourselves and find ourselves in those pity party places? Really? Been there? I have many times. Guess what happens in verse 50? This is amazing. Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. You see, there's something about this casting this cloak away. This cloak represents every single thing that holds us back. See, that cloak was what he wore around his shoulders, keep him warm. And I believe he probably sat out there with that cloak and got rained on, just like today. And in those days, a cloak like that getting rained on may become a little bit heavy. May become a little bit moldy. And you ever had some kind of outfit that you didn't wash in a while? Like a shirt that you could put down and it wouldn't go in a crumpled heap, but it would stay standing up? Some of you are looking at your spouse or the boyfriend and saying, dude, that was your shirt. See, many times we know what that's like. But these things we pile on top of ourselves, they get really heavy, don't they? The heavier they get, we don't want to move. But notice what happens when they call him. They said, get on your feet. Did they pick him up? No. They didn't. He got up. The thing that allowed him to get up was he had to do something first. He had to cast away that cloak. Throw it away. Get it off of him. Put some effort out. Get it out. Get this thing out of here. I don't want this thing anymore. How many of those places you don't want this thing around you anymore? How many got a cloak over your life? How many have a cloak over your life right now, honestly? Be honest. You see, this is something not to neglect. And I will tell you right now that in this room tonight, there are people with cloaks around them tightly. There are people here right now with cloaks around. And I tell you right now, there's a distraction that will try to distract you from casting that cloak aside. It will distract you from trying to hear this word tonight. I will tell you, it will try to distract you to stay in that place. It will try to keep you there. It will. But you got to hear his voice. When you hear his voice, he will empower you. When you hear his voice, you must trust who he is. You must understand that when you hear his voice, he will take those blinders off of your spiritual eyes and you'll begin to see. Amen. He will take that spiritual weakness that's been piled on top of you and he will give you strength to rise up. Not just rise up, but jump up. Amen. He will give you that strength. And then guess what happens in verse 51? The man jumps to his feet and comes to Jesus and he asks a question. Jesus asked him a question. What do you want me to do for you? How cool is that? Our Father wants us to jump to our feet and come to Him and ask us that same question. What do you want me to do for you, son? What do you want me to do for you, daughter? My child, what would you like? What can I do for you? How can I help you? See, many times we look at Jesus as this big, bad bully who sits on a throne waiting to throw something down on us because we've done bad. But He's a good Father.
Yes.
He wants to bless His children.
Amen.
How many have kids? Wouldn't you do anything for your kids that you love so much? If they come to you and says, man, and you see a need in your life and you ask them a question, what do you want me to do for you? Don't you think you mean it? You're not pulling some con game on them, are you? What do you think? God is asking this man, what do you want me to do for you? How many would like for Jesus to ask you that question? Let me see your hands. Guess what? He just did. He's saying, what do you want me to do for you? This word is not just for back then, it's for us right now.
Amen. That's right.
He's saying, what would you and me like me to do for you? He's talking about Himself. This is His word. What do you want me to do for you? The blind man, of course, says, Rabbi, I want to see. I want to see. Not only did he want to see Jesus, he wanted to be revealed who Jesus is. He wanted to have spiritual clarity. He wanted to be from his old place into his new place. He wanted to have vision. How many want vision for your life?
Amen.
See, vision is something that we must have. And we got to be specific about what we want.
Come on.
Sometimes we even hate to ask for it. Why is that? You want to know why it is? Because we get so locked into our comfort zone that we get so fearful to ask for anything because we think that's where we belong. That's a deception from the enemy. Nobody in here is designed to be piled with cloaks on, sitting down the side of the road, laying down the same old place for the same old thing. Begging. Begging. That's not what Jesus is about. The blind man says, Rabbi, I want to see. And what does Jesus say? He says, go. Your faith has healed you. Woo! See, faith heals.
Yes, it does.
Faith is revealed when we hear the Word of God. Faith comes from hearing and hearing from the Word of God. That's what the Word says. But faith is revealed to us when we begin to recognize who Jesus is and we hear His Word.
Yes, sir.
Faith is not something that we generate on our own. It comes from hearing the Word of God.
Amen.
How many's faith is revealed to them tonight? Do you have faith? Has God shown you faith?
Amen.
Because you've heard the Word of God. Not because you've heard the Word of Mark, because you've heard the Word of God. Your faith has healed you. And guess what happened? Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. He wasn't going back to where he came from anymore. He threw that cloak aside. He said, I'm not going to stay here anymore. I'm not going to stay there anymore. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of staying in the same place. I want to go where Jesus has me go and do what He has me do. And you can't do what you've always done to get where you've never been before.
That's right. Amen.
That's right.
You cannot do what you've always done to get where you've never been before. You got to hear that. Oh, there's a healing place in the building tonight.